Welcome to Behind the Story. I'm Naomi Craig, author of biblical fiction and host of the Biblical Fiction Finder. I'm really excited to introduce to you our guest today, my good writer friend, Olivia Talbott. Olivia is a native Montanan, homeschool mom, a gardener, a pickle enthusiast, and lover of deep conversations. Her real passion, though, is telling stories that the world needs to hear, being rooted in actual events and based on people's lives. Welcome to Behind the Story.
Oh, thank you. It's so wonderful to be here.
So for those who aren't familiar with you, tell us a little bit about you and what you write.
Yeah, well, like you said, I'm Olivia Talbott, and I've been working on a book for a really long time, so it's kind of taken all of my energy and passion. I'm a homeschool mom, so I have just like a little bit of time, as you can understand, being a mom. There's just a little bit of time to work on books. So I've been working on a book for quite a while, and it is now coming out. It'll be coming out on September 24th, and it is based on a true story of a survivor of the Cambodian genocide. So yeah, that's been kind of my creative outflow has been to that lately.
Congratulations. Well,
Oh,
Olivia
thank
and I
you.
first met, I guess, internet
Yes.
met with Keeping Christmas. Olivia, if you read my book in this, and you've also seen Olivia's, she's got a fantastic way with words. I'm sorry,
Oh,
volume one, Team Blue. Am I right?
right.
It's no
Right,
longer
right,
in
right. Team
print.
Blue. It isn't.
It's no longer
That
in
was
print.
fun though.
It
It
was. It
was
was
so
lots of
fun.
fun.
Yeah.
Keeping Christmas at the castle. We had a great time with that. So I've really got
Yeah.
to see Olivia's journey, bringing this story to life. A boy named Rindy to life, and I'm so
Yes.
proud of you.
Oh.
Congratulations! So, A Boy Named Rindy is based in a true story off of the Cambodian genocide in 1968. Rindy is a young boy of the jungle, but he is hunted. Due to his parents' divorce and the time of political upheaval, he falls between the cracks as rejection sinks its claws into him. Safety and belonging are ever exceeding his grasp. He must learn to grapple with questions of good and evil. So, what is the story behind this, Olivia?
Yeah. Um, so I met Randy obviously in 2012, and it came about in a really crazy way. I had just been on a Cambodian mission trip the year before, and I was home at the time, and I got a phone call from a mutual friend. He was a missionary doctor. He was actually, it's funny, he's a missionary doctor in Africa, but he knew Rindy. And he knew I had just been to Cambodia. So he called me and he said, I hear you want to be a writer. I heard you just got back from Cambodia. I have this friend who has an incredible life story, and he needs a book written about his life. And he's like, you're the one to write it. And so that's really how I heard about Rindy. And gosh, I was 19. Yep, I was 19 at the time. And I was just like stars in my eyes. I was like, I want to write true stories, and I want to write the next Unbroken book, and the Christian, like having a Christian redemptive message in it. And so I was like really excited about it. And I ended up flying down to Florida the next week to meet up with Scott, and then meet Rindy. So that is how this story came about, the story kind of behind the story. Um, and it was really an amazing experience to be able to get to interview him and then kind of decide, was this a book I was wanted to write, felt like I was capable of writing, and ended up saying yes to that. So that's how this book came about.
Do you think is it do you think it's difficult to write
Mm.
someone that you've actually met and fictionalize parts of their life? Or is that easier because you know that you have some very clear parameters? Which did you
Yeah.
find?
Oh my goodness. It's like so funny. I mean, it's such a good question because it's like yes and no. It's, there's so much nuance to it because it's like this really happened and I could get the details wrong. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this was not
It's not like
this
ancient
didn't
history. Like
right.
I
There
read
are
about
people
people
that
who
was.
actually
Yeah.
existed as well, but that was
Yes.
like thousands of years ago. So nobody's
Right.
gonna fact check me.
Right. So that was terrifying in itself. Of just like I could get the details wrong. I could get so much wrong about this. And so that was a part that was difficult. The one thing that was really amazing though is like I could ask questions to gain clarity. I could be like, what did this look like? Or did I portray this correctly? So that was wonderful. Ancient history people who are writing like biblical times, you can't just dial up Rahab and be like, how was it, Rahab?
I know, right?
Like,
I'm like,
yeah,
I'll call it The Chosen. I'm like, hey, how's that?
where are you at with this? You know what I mean? And so it's just one of those things that had its like pros and cons with it. It was intimidating. Like I said, I could get the facts wrong, I could get the details wrong. Um, but then, yeah, just the other part that was kind of difficult was like, I couldn't just make up the story. I couldn't, the beautiful thing about being an author and writing is you get to
Yeah,
create the storyline and the plot, and you get to do things that you want. You could make the characters do things. Sometimes they have a mind of their own, right?
right.
But most of the time, it's like you want something to happen. And like I was going through these events in his life that I knew I needed to tell because they were really important to his character arc and they were just important events in his life. And I was like, I don't know how to tell this. Like research, read a bunch, read a bunch. And so I was very tightly tied to this story. So I had the bare bones of the structure of his life, and then everything else I had some flow in and out of that, but
Yeah,
obviously it was pretty rigid,
yeah.
as it is based on a true story. So
Oh,
hopefully that
cool.
answers that question.
I
But
love that you brought like Unbroken. I really enjoyed that one.
oh,
Um,
yeah,
I don't know that, is it Laura Hillenbrand? I don't believe she's a
it is.
believer, but yet
I,
Louis
yes,
Zamperini became
right,
a believer. So
right. And there's that redemptive forgiveness
yes, yes,
arc at the end, and people sometimes like to kind of like leave it off in a way, you know what I mean? Like really focus on the
yeah,
humanitarian like survival. Like that's amazing what a person can endure.
yeah,
Um, but that part made it just so much more solidified and powerful, I
yeah.
think, which is kind of what I really wanted to carry over in my story as
Well,
well.
I think the first movie cut it off, didn't it? Basically,
It
like,
did.
yeah,
It did.
and then
Yeah.
somebody else picked it up and wrote the rest of the
Right.
story or
Right.
filmed the rest of the story.
Yeah. I think there's this kind of temptation that like there is in just the whole more secular world is like anything that is redemptive or forgiveness or Christ centered is kind of like cheesy and we don't want that. You know what I mean? But when
Yeah,
you think about it, that's where the true power is. And those are the stories that are important. And it can be told in a real and realistic way.
yeah.
But yeah, we can't just ignore those stories. Like they need to be told.
They
So
need to be told. They need to be told.
yeah.
So you've got some pretty amazing advanced reviews already up on Goodreads.
Oh.
I love it. I'm sure you've enjoyed all of them, but Storm Schultz says this is a beautiful story. It's based on the life of Rindy Nong. A boy named Rindy is gripping and so important. Oftentimes, I can read. Oftentimes, stories like the Cambodian genocide are forgotten or at least not spoken about. I would love to see this book in schools, read along books like Elie Wiesel's Night. Wow, that's amazing. What a compliment.
Oh, I know.
That's beautiful. And then Lindsay says, be prepared to experience a range of emotions as Olivia weaves the harrowing story of Rindy's life in Cambodia, spanning decades of conflict and unrest under different tyrants. As readers, we may have limited awareness or no knowledge of these moments in Cambodia's history, but this is just proof why we need to sit at the feet of survivors and learn the stories of what it was like to live, survive, and eventually thrive. Like, I haven't read it yet. I mean,
Oh,
it's gonna show up in my on Tuesday,
yes.
but do you feel like this captured the heart of this decade-long process of your book baby here?
No. Well, those are such beautiful reviews. Oh my goodness. I'm still trying not to cry every time I get a good review because it's just, there's such a gift, as you know, like, oh, it's incredible. I loved what both of them said. I love that Storm kind of was talking about that it's important. That's an important read, even for um, children or like, teenagers, because there is some kind of traumatic elements to it, so probably better for advanced readers. So I love that, but I loved what Lindsay said too about learning to not just survive but thrive. I love that. So I it's so fun to see everybody else's like take on it. I see it from this side, and it's like this super long journey with so many pitfalls, so many up, highs and lows, and it's just so cool to hear people just summarize it. So, um, yeah, it's honestly such a gift. I feel like I had really low expectations because I shared a little bit with you, like I'm just to be done. You know what I mean? Just to
Okay.
be done and released with this. There were so many beautiful parts of it, but a lot of it was very difficult. It's just to feel like now I can release it out into the world. And so to have people be impacted by it is just like, that's going to be something I'm going to have to like, you'll have to help me with that. Like, how do you deal with that? So wonderful. It's so wonderful.
That's
So,
well, you
yeah.
probably get that 1-star review and that'll
Yes.
pull it right back down. So it
Yes.
just all
Actually,
balances out.
yeah, to be honest with you, I have stayed away from reviews. When you just read that one to Lindsay to me, that was the first I've heard of it.
Really?
Because um, I'm really sensitive, and
Yeah.
I don't have thick skin yet, because I haven't done this very much,
Yeah.
and so I've really stayed away from reviews until after release, and I'm trying to give myself a week, and then I'm gonna look at them because I know they all won't all be good, as nothing is all universally loved. So so thank you for that
But as
too.
of now, they are all good. They are all good right
Okay.
now.
You vetted them for me. You're
I
like,
did.
right now you're good.
Yeah, you're good. You can read
That's
them.
sweet. Okay. Okay, I can
No,
go.
and maybe, I mean, I've heard of authors who do that. They'll have somebody vet it. So that might be
Yeah,
your
my
your way
mom
to
do that,
go there
Yeah.
for the first couple. But you, like you said, it's not for everybody,
Mhm, mhm.
it's not gonna be, it's a hard story to tell. So if you're
Yeah.
looking for a lighter read, this is not gonna
Mhm.
be it, but the whole
Exactly.
redemption
Yeah.
is gonna draw
Mhm.
people in, and especially if you like big books, people, because I saw on Amazon is like over 500 pages. So
It's a big book.
this is gonna be some good reads right here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I chiseled it down, but that was at it. That's where it ended up being. But I was hoping for a thick book because I love thick books.
Yes.
And you do too. I feel like I've held some of your books and I'm like, these are good books. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they're thick books,
Yeah.
which I love.
Oh goodness. So the Cambodian genocide happened in 1968. That's only
Mhm.
56 years ago. So when is, as a writer's standpoint, did you come across, when is the point where it's far enough back to be considered historical? Like, is that even a good question? Like,
Yeah.
how do you know if it's a historical genre or if it's just an amazing book for now? Like,
Or contemporary. No, right. I seriously had a major mental breakdown over this. So no, this is a great question. Um,
it's for my
because when
history,
I was,
right? So
yeah,
that's
no,
technically history, right?
right. Well, because I was trying to figure this out because it's like I was reading, like,
I
where do I put this? And I was actually talking on a book group online, and I was talking with somebody about this, and another writer was telling me, I don't know if that period of time is long enough in advance. She was actually looking at the genocide, which was like, I think at the time we were talking about it, it was like right at 50 years or 49. She's like, that's not quite. But well, anyways, to make a long story short, I have talked to a couple of professionals, publishing people, and the general rule of thumb is 50 years. So anything that is 50 years in the past, it can be considered historical fiction, which is crazy because when you think about 50 years, especially in different countries, it does feel historical. Like it's very primitive, which is the culture as well at that time and through war and everything. So, as far as the feel and that history that's gone into it, you probably won't love this book if you don't like history. And it also feels even older than it is because of how primitive the time frame that he lives in.
yeah.
So that is how I ended up placing it. And there's been a few more come out that has been really, really cool, like Darkness Calls the Tiger,
Yeah.
which is about Burma World War II. And so it's kind of cool to see some of these others that have a similar feel that are also historical fiction.
Yeah.
So it is hard. It's hard to know because there isn't just all of these fast rules. Like I love with biblical fiction, you at least know, okay, this is a time frame that it's expected to be in. But like there's a lot of history and like
There is.
there's a lot of that can span a lot of time. So
Yeah,
that's
we
a
go
great
from
question.
like Adam and Eve to, the disciples. There's a lot of time in between there.
I know there
It
is
all
a
fits.
ton of
It all fits.
just make it work.
It all
I love
works.
it all. I love it all, honestly. Historical fiction, like every that's why I love it because it's just covers so much.
Yeah,
And
and you
like it's all
learn.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I like to learn. I need to learn something when I'm reading. I do like to escape in rom-coms
Yes.
every once in a while.
Yes.
I think we need that. But I like a meaty book I can learn from. So
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. If you're watching this, comment below. Tell us if you like meaty books that are like massive. If you like to learn stuff, or if
yeah.
you have to be in a mood for a deep historical. So comment below. We'd
Mhm.
love to know your thoughts. So what were three memorable things from your trip to Cambodia, your mission trip?
Oh gosh, that's good. Okay. I wrote them down because I knew I
Ah,
would like there are so many. I'll like the main ones that come to mind, like eating crickets. That was cool. They have like
crickets
in
was
Cambodia,
cool. All right. All
crickets was
right.
cool. Like I like to be it drives my husband crazy. Like it's something he's still like kind of heebie-jeebied out about. I ate really weird stuff when I was there. But they were like, I did not eat this because I could not eat a spider. I have like major I can't do spiders, but they have like tarantulas on a stick. I saw them live like before they cooked them. The crickets was the weirdest thing I ate, and they were really not bad. They roasted them. There was like garlic and chives on them. I mean, they there was a crunch. It was fine. So that was one of those. That was one of those memories that was like, you know, there. um, but then to go to the other end of the spectrum, when going to Cambodia, I didn't realize like what state the church was in, how many people had been reached. There had been a lot of missionaries there, but to the part that we went to this really remote village, and I'm sure if you've ever been anywhere where you're like pale skinned, and I have like blonde hair, you know what I mean? Like I have
Yeah.
bright blonde hair, and we went to this remote village, and they take the foreigners there to kind of be like a draw, like come and hear what we have to say. And when we started talking through a translator with some of them, they'd never heard the name of Jesus before.
Wow.
And so to be able to share the love of God with people, and even when I couldn't speak directly to them, we were speaking through translator, and being able to worship and just pray over these places, just to be able to be a presence there, was an incredible privilege. Um, and it's something that I'll never forget. And being able to share the gospel in this place, being able to pass out, we did Bible tracks, to where you could download it onto their phone. And I just have one memory of this man, who had like porn on his phone, and he was deleting it to make room for the Bible, and that was just incredible. And just to see the joy on his face, it was like he had something of purpose now.
Wow.
And so that was incredible. And then the last one, not to end on a downer, but it really leads into kind of the reason I feel like I went to Cambodia. It was a really roundabout way how I even ended up in Cambodia. I actually really wanted to go to Africa. I'd always dreamed of going to Africa, but my mission leaders really felt strongly that I needed to go to Cambodia. And so when I was there, we toured a lot of the main genocide spots. The one in the killing fields was the one that was the most memorable to me, and being just so impacted by the history that I just didn't know. We'd watched a documentary before we had gone, but it hits you differently when you're there. And walking on the killing fields, where it's estimated, 1.5 to 3 million people were killed, not in that exact spot, but over the course of the whole genocide. Um, and I was very impacted. And I remember thinking, why doesn't more people know? Why don't more people know? And then right across from the killing fields, there was a school, and I could just hear the kids singing and laughing, and and it was so beautiful, just the sound of hope that was coming through this place of just deep destruction. in trauma and so many things that there just hadn't been confronted, because it's like only God can heal those things. Only he can heal that. So anyways, just being really impacted by the genocide and not knowing what to do with it. Like I felt this grief, but I didn't know what to do with it
Right.
until like I came home. So yeah.
And then the Lord opened the door for you to
Yeah.
do something about it.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
And I think that probably, from what I hear you saying, that hope is what you want people to come away with. Is that right?
Yes. 100%. Yes. I've read a lot of historical fiction, like or general market, and then Christian, and I love Christian. I feel like sometimes with historical fiction, and it really gets really gnarly, you feel like you're like drugged through the mud. You know what I mean? And you're
Oh,
drugged
sure.
through the mud, and then you just kind of have to sit in the mud. Like, oh man, like I'm looking at the mud, I feel the mud. Um, but there is something about the hope that is so necessary. Um, Otherwise, it's like to shower you off on the other side. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like because it's so needed. Otherwise, it's like I don't want to add more heartache and trauma and hurt to the world, because there is a whole lot of that. There's a whole lot of beautiful survival stories, humanity being able to pull itself up by its bootstraps. But when God enters the narrative, then it becomes something that I think needs to be shouted from the rooftop, because it goes on to it impacts other people's faith journey. And oof, to me, that makes it all worth it in the end.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think of the Gaither song, "Because He Lives, I Can Face Tomorrow." Like,
Oh,
can you
oh,
imagine going through this just stuck in the mud and not
mm,
seeing the hope on the other side?
yeah, yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
I love it.
It's been so cool to see Rindy. Just to tag onto that, like I just was texting with him yesterday, and I shared a review that somebody, or just somebody had messaged me and said, your book has really impacted me, and I'm surrounded by atheists. And I started sharing with them about this book because I know it's something that they can find the Lord in, and maybe something that they would read just because of the content. And it was so cool. And he wrote back, amen. He says, he's a pastor and he's a missionary as well, but he said, my entire church, and I've been believing for years that this book is going to bring people to Jesus. And so
Mhm.
that was like, oh my goodness, like he's thinking, obviously that's why he wanted this book written in the first place. It's not about him. He's the most humble guy in the entire world, but he
Wow.
knew that what Jesus had done in his life was worth telling about. So
I
it's
love
been
it.
so cool to talk to him about it. Mm.
I love it. All right, really serious question here. You just
Yeah.
got a lifetime supply of the last thing you purchased. What is it?
Oh man, this is good. Let's lighten things up because we got heavy real quick. This is completely, completely real. And I wish it was something that was cool and writerly, but it's fingernail clippers. I had a pair of fingernail clippers for 14 years, Naomi. I seriously did. They had like Miss Manicure on them. They were purple and black, and they were like my fingernail clippers. And I just never throw anything away. Like if it's not broke, don't get rid of
Right,
it, right?
right.
So, anyways, it just recently broke, and I have 3 kids who run around outside without their shoes on all the time, and they get gnarly, like gnarly fingernails and toenails, and like full of dirt. And I was like, I gotta take care of this. So yeah, I ordered, which is crazy, but I needed it real bad. Fingernail clippers. Yeah.
So
So
in the next,
they,
that's only gonna last you like you can last one every 14 years.
I
So
know exactly. They got a
unfortunately,
bargain
that's
with
not
me.
the best.
It's really not. Like, I really wish it had been bananas, because my youngest, who is 2, eats bananas like nobody's business. So if I had just gotten bananas, then we'd be set. Yeah, but I'm not going to the grocery store. I'm going tomorrow. So
Oh man, we'll ask you again tomorrow.
yeah, right. Uh,
Can I change my answer, please?
yes, please. I need bananas, or fruit in general, just a whole fruit farm. But
That's funny. So what's coming
mm.
next for you after A Boy Named Rindy? What's next?
Oh man, well, not to loop around back to the Christmas novella. I'm not sure if I'm going to get it out this Christmas, but it'll definitely be within the next year. But the Girl from Dalarna. the milkmaid story, that is in that one. Yeah, since that is out of print now, we're able to reprint it.
Mhm.
I'm really excited about doing a cover. I haven't done it yet. I was thinking like, hey, I'll just, casually slide this in right after this book. But I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I need to take a break. I promised my kids and my husband, like, this maybe will be it for the rest of the year of new projects and getting things out. So, but anyways, that'll be the next thing. It's a fun story. It was based on a true story, like an old legend about a beautiful Swedish milkmaid who kind of despises her beauty because she has a speech impediment, and she has to navigate all of the world of suitors and scandal, and how does it turn out? So we'll see how that goes. But as far as that, I do have a few other things in the works, but they're like kind of too early to even know what they're going to be yet, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for asking though. It's exciting to
Absolutely.
think about new projects after this very long one.
Yes.
So
And hopefully it won't be 10 years.
I I hope not. If it is, I'm just going to give up right now.
Don't give up. We
I'm
need
just
your
kidding.
words.
I'm just kidding. I won't. I won't. Maybe I'll just do something that isn't so quite so heavy.
Yeah, we'll have Olivia's links and the show notes. Be sure you're connecting with Olivia so you can catch up on, hopefully not the next 10 years, but you catch up on her next project. And Olivia is offering a giveaway of a digital copy of A Boy Named Rindy. So be sure to enter in the King Sumo below so you have an opportunity to read that. And thank you so much for coming here tonight, Olivia.
Well, thank you so much, Naomi. This has been so fun.
And thank you for joining us on this edition of Behind the Story. Until next time, let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. We'll see you next time.